Something massive is happening right now in the global financial system that will redefine the dollar, your wealth, and the entire monetary system as we know it. It all has to do with stablecoins, the so-called less volatile cryptocurrencies that were supposed to free us from fiat, but now somehow are holding it all together, propping up the dollar, creating demand for US debt, and keeping the system alive just a little bit longer. In fact, the largest US dollar stablecoin issuer, Tether, just made a bold prediction claiming that in the next 5 years, all currencies will become exclusively stablecoins, meaning the dollar as we know it today will cease to exist, replaced entirely by a digital, tokenized private version. But here's the twist. While pushing out stablecoin dollars to the entire world, Tether is also buying up gold. Not paper promises, but real, physical, tangible gold, even going so far as to invest in mining companies, ensuring that they have a supply for what comes next after the reset. Some would call that ironic, while others would say that it's all part of a much larger plan. But either way, one thing is clear. We are catapulting towards a completely controlled digital future, one where every transaction will be tracked and a wealth transfer from those holding digital promises to real tangible assets could be here much quicker than we think. Stablecoins were created to bridge the gap between more volatile cryptocurrencies and traditional fiat currencies. Essentially, a stablecoin is a type of cryptocurrency, but it is stable because its value is pegged one-to-one to an external asset, something like the dollar or gold. This digital asset, the stablecoin that's now backed one-to-one, could be used for transactions or savings without any of your finances having to leave into traditional banks, essentially a decentralized tool for financial freedom. But as their adoption exploded, something changed. Instead of challenging the system, they moved closer and closer to the center, rapidly now being integrated into the very system they were meant to disrupt. Let me back up. The dollar has been the global reserve currency for 80 years, meaning it has been the foundation of international trade and finance, but that foundation is cracking. As US debt has ballooned to nearly $38 trillion and interest payments are unsustainable, foreign nations are no longer interested in buying the same level of US debt that they once were. But this creates a serious problem for the US because without that constant demand for treasuries, the entire system that we've built collapses. So the US needed a new buyer and needed one quick. Enter stablecoins. Earlier this year, President Trump passed the Genius Act, which essentially required that all US dollar stablecoins were backed one-to-one by US dollars or US treasuries. Now, this was touted as a way to protect the consumer, to keep these stablecoins stable. But in reality, it created an instant stopgap for the declining demand for US debt. The genius of this act is that now, globally, anytime someone uses a dollar stablecoin, that much US debt is purchased in equal amount. And right now, 99% of stablecoin demand is US dollars, primarily being used for retail. It could be crypto trading or merchant payments. This is because stablecoins are faster than traditional digital dollars, they operate with less fees, and there's more access where traditionally maybe there wasn't before, which is a huge win for the US because now you have citizens in countries from Nigeria to Argentina using stablecoins where otherwise their access to dollars might have been restricted. These citizens aren't doing it to support the US directly, but that is exactly what inadvertently all this utilization is doing. But if you think that this is a temporary blip or it's not going to last, stablecoin utilization is on a tear. In fact, if it continues at its current trajectory, it will completely outpace traditional fiat currency volume in a matter of a couple of years. What do you think? Do you think that stablecoins are here to completely replace the dollar, that we are heading towards a tokenized digital future? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear from you. Because Tether just came out with a bold prediction. They claim that in the next 5 years, all fiat currencies will become stablecoins. The dollar, the euro, the yen, you name it. Essentially, what they're saying is that fiat currencies as we know them today will cease to exist and instead will be represented or completely replaced by the stablecoin tokenized version. To be clear, this isn't like Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency replacing the dollar. This is a tokenized digital programmable trackable version of the dollar. It's not a CBDC because it's not issued by a central bank, but it will be a digital version of the dollar existing on a blockchain that will completely replace the dollar as we know it today. And do not worry, I'm going to talk about devaluation in a second, but first, there are serious systemic risks with this that not enough people are talking about. Beneath all that digital innovation lies the same problem that we have today with the dollar, which is a lack of trust. Stablecoins, again, are only as stable as the asset that's backing them, which is US Treasuries. The moment that confidence breaks, those stablecoin dollars, which in the next 5 years could replace the dollar as we know it, could lose all value overnight. In fact, we've already seen this happen with other stablecoins. In 2022, Terra and Luna, two US stablecoins, collapsed because there essentially was a stablecoin bank run equivalent. And once that confidence and trust broke, everything was gone in a matter of days. Now, to be fair, there are different types of stablecoins. These relied more on a mathematical algorithm to derive their value, but either way, we've seen it happen before, and it could easily happen here as well. The system won't be more stable. It will just be bigger, faster, and directly plugged into sovereign debt. Don't even get me started on the fact that, again, when you think about these issuers of stablecoins that are going to replace our currency, they are private corporations. We're talking about Tether, Circle, these private businesses that will now be solely responsible for not only propping up our debt, the entire machine our country is built on, but again, the currency that we're using. So as far as moral concerns go, or what that could look like for power plays, I mean, if you have a private company that, again, is holding you by the you-know-what as a country because they own your debt, they own your currency, they control you. I'm not saying that the people in government right now are working for you and me, but I am saying that this is even one step further away from the system we have now, right? Into dystopian control. We're going to have private corporations controlling the dollar and our debt. The risks are tremendous. But this is where the irony is almost too much to bear. And I mentioned this earlier, but these companies are not only promoting US dollar stablecoins as the future, they're simultaneously buying the one asset that exposes the dollar's weakness: gold. Tether, the world's largest US stablecoin issuer, now holds billions of dollars worth of gold, and they are investing in royalties and mining as well, ensuring that if anything happens to the dollar, they are prepared with physical gold. They're hedging their bets against the one thing that they're promoting out to the entire rest of the world. They know what comes next, the same way you do, the same way I do, the same way those in history who have lived through currency resets do, the same way that central banks today are buying record amounts of gold, the most in modern history. They're not doing it for fun. They're not doing it because they're confused. They're doing it because they are positioning for a new system where the dollar is not at the center. And that is also a critical key component here. Too many people I see every day think that stable coins are the answer, that it's going to solve the debt problem. But it's not the case. Yes, it's temporarily going to boost up that supply, but it cannot go on forever. Eventually, with the technology the way it exists, this is going to be a temporary solution, but it eventually will open us up to even more risk of a greater and faster collapse. Just last month, a top aide to Russian President Vladimir Putin, Anton Kobiakov, came out on the global stage and called a spade, saying that the United States was preparing to do a global rug pull on everyone, ensuring that everyone across the world were using these dollar stablecoins. And once there were enough people using them, once adoption was strong enough, what would they do? They would turn around and revalue those stablecoins. So instead of being backed 1-to-1, maybe it's backed 1 to 50 cents. Well, what does that mean for everyone out there who's using them? Which again, even if you're sitting there thinking, oh, that will never be me, it might be the only option in a matter of a few years. And at that point, what they're going to do is devalue the stablecoin, which effectively will boost the US balance sheets, help reduce the debt burden, and everyone else has to pay for it. It would destroy the value of the currency for everyone else, even anyone holding dollars or dollar-denominated assets. Even if it's not a stablecoin, traditional dollars would also lose their value the same way. And if you think it can't happen today, think again. We've already done it here in the US. In 1933, President Roosevelt confiscated gold bullion. Rare and collectible coins were exempt, which I always call out because it's very important to make sure that when you buy your physical gold, you work with someone who understands all these historical laws, parallels today, and where we're going next so you can protect yourself. But once he confiscated the bullion, what happened next? Well, they revalued it. Gold went from $20.67 an ounce to $35 an ounce. What did that mean? It meant the US balance sheets were instantly boosted, right? The value of all the gold they held propped everything up. And what happened to everyone holding dollars? Well, they lost 70% of their wealth, over half of their wealth overnight. I always ask people, can you afford to lose half of your savings, your retirement, your wealth that you work so hard for? Because that is where we are headed next. The technology might look different, but the scheme is the same. And right now we are at a fork at the road. And I don't know if we have the power as a community to change where we are going, the trajectory, the course that we're on. I really don't have an answer to that. But what I do know is that we still have time today to take action to protect our own wealth and create generational wealth for our families, making sure that we're protected against what's coming next. But that window won't be there forever. As this technology continues to evolve and adoption is widespread, well, what is going to happen next? There will be less exit hatches, right? It will be harder and harder to make sure that you convert your dollars into physical gold and silver before it's too late. History has shown us time and time again how this ends. And if you're not familiar or you want to learn more, we do have a free resource. I highly recommend that everyone downloads it. It's called the Built to Endure report. If you haven't already gotten your copy, scan the QR code to download it. Click the link in the description. Either way, get your copy today. Make sure that you're prepared. It has 100 years of data of different currency resets, what has happened to the fiat currency, in this case, the dollar, versus how gold has helped protect wealth. And as always, I say that education is critical, but it is action that will truly protect you from what's coming next. So if you don't already have a strategy in place, or you do, but you want a second opinion with physical gold and silver, we are a full physical gold and silver dealer here at ITM, and we specialize in helping people just like you create a plan, a strategy for what is coming next. So call us at the number below. Again, scan the QR code, or you can click the link in the description below to set up a time that works best for you to talk to one of our expert analysts. They can answer any questions you have. And as always, thank you so much for being here. I'm Taylor Kenny with ITM Trading, your trusted source for all things gold, silver, and lifelong wealth protection. Until next time.